Hello, Pete Brooker here, and today I'm going to take you backstage with the blog. I thought you might like to see how the fudge is packed over here. So, a quick backstory. I used to publish the show notes for the podcast over at my other lifestyle blog, Human Research, but I felt it was really confusing to send people to another blog. In fact, back in the day, Matt Spacer also published the show notes on bond suits. So we were sending people all over the place, go over to this site, go over to that site. So to make it easier, I set up from tailorswithlove.co.uk and just use that as a dumping ground. Whatever we spoke about on the podcast, I'd leave links to YouTube's. If we spoke about videos or other blogs or screen grabs, it was just a very disorganized wasteland of shit. To be quite frank. Matt Spacer designed the logo and did some design elements, but I really have to take my hat off to a longtime friend of mine, Mark Buckle. He really put the meat and potatoes and got the site looking the way it does today. Okay, so then I started to fill the blog out a bit more with travel elements, all the locations I'd visited and wrote about. I transferred that over from the Human Research site, and that was a good thing because these are not just like travel diaries, but actually a good resource when people ask me about certain locations. Case in point, my good friend David Swidsky out in Goldeneye right now asked a few things about how to get from A to B, and I was able to refer to a post that I did and just sent him the link. And that's actually one of the most rewarding things about the blog, if I can make it useful for other people. Now, I know these are very small numbers in terms of hits and traffic compared to a lot of other blogs out there. But I wanted to show you something, and I think you'll find it interesting, especially if you're thinking of starting a WordPress blog yourself. And I mentioned earlier, the show notes were just links to things that we spoke about. It was also not very useful, so I went off the grass and talked about my breakfast, and then I'll just post photos of my breakfast, and it was it was really quite indulgent. Not as indulgent as me talking about my blog, but it's up there. So I started doing things around about October time, and you can see on the stats here we're up to about 9,000 to 10,000 hits, and again, very small beer, I know, but you can see the growth here. I mean, it started at nothing, and during October time I went through all the podcasts and transcribed maybe around 300 words per podcast, and that took a fucking long time. And why was I doing this? Well, ultimately, we have a book coming out. I want to have some kind of presence online, and if people come to the site for one thing, maybe they'll be interested enough to buy a book from us. They could be looking up something about Simon Pegg's jacket in Mission Impossible and then go, oh, he's got a book out over here. I'll click on that. Seems good enough. I'll buy it. Thank you. So fleshed out all the show notes, put some good images in there. And if you're looking to transcribe anything, then the tool I recommend is transcribe. Very handy tool. Basically, you can use keys to pause the tape and fast forward rather than coming in and out of the file. Very useful tool. I would then find the keyword, and that would invariably be whatever the title of the podcast was. So let's take an example. If we're talking about the Bourne Identity, I did an interview with the costume designer Pierre Yves. Now, with respect to Pierre Yves, I'm not sure how many folk are going to be Googling him, I should say. So I made sure the keyword was the Bourne Identity. And this is a plugin called Yoast, and it just helps out make sure that your blog post is Google friendly. And you can see that over here you'll get ticks and checks, and once all the lights are green, then you're good to go and you publish that. So that's all that. I then try and do a bit of outreach, right? So one way I do that is because it's always good to get people to link to you and then you link to them, get some link juice going. One way I do that is that I would go to someone like Nick over at Banff Style. I know he did a really good article on Clive Owen in the Bourne Identity, but I also know that he didn't interview the costume designer, right? He doesn't know, for example, that it's Hugo Boss that provided the trench coat. So I'll email Nick and say, hey, maybe you'd like to update your article. I've identified the brand, and he'll link back to me, and it's, again, I'll link to him. It's all good link juice. And has Nick done it? Has he updated? He hasn't updated the site yet. Well, that kind of shits on my point. But he's done it in other blogs, and it's yeah, BAMP Style is actually a very good blog. I'm sure you all know it. If Nick's already done an article on a film, I usually won't even bother covering it because he does it so comprehensively. I was going to cover Collateral and the suit that Tom Cruise wears, and so I went on Nick's site to make sure that he hadn't done it. He had done it, and he'd done it really well, and I thought there's literally nothing else I can add to this. So if I did have one criticism of Nick's site, though, it's sometimes hard to find what you want. It's not immediately clear. Whereas if you go over to Matt Spacer's blog, for example, he's got a meta menu set up here. I mean, look at that. Crystal fucking clear. Going back to mine, it's not ideal. I tried to set up a meta menu, but Jesus Christ, I couldn't figure it out. And I'm not overtly IT, by the way. I can do the basics just about. I can't code. I don't design. I can just, well, I can just about write content and upload it. And it's evolved into other things. You know, I've got guest writers, and I'm happy to have people write articles about their wardrobes if they can relate it to films and how like cinema has inspired their personal style. And you know, people can post photos on Instagram and stuff, but rarely do they flesh out the story or the emotion or journey they've undertaken to get certain jackets or suits or whatever it is. So the blog has taken on a few different guises. It's not just housing the show notes for the podcast anymore, and it's not just describing clothes. Like I say, Matt, Remet, Nick, and Jovan, I should mention Jovan Gautier, they all do a good enough job. So unless I've got something new to say about it, then I'm not really going to go anywhere near it. I'll give you a quick example actually of what I mean. I really want to do the clothes covering the film The Iceman. I think that's a beautiful film. Saw it in the cinema, caught it again recently on Netflix or Amazon or wherever it was, but it's not interesting enough for me to just write about the clothes. So I've reached out to a couple of costume designers that have worked on the film. Still waiting to hear back, but I'm reticent to publish any content because I'm just not going to bring anything new. I want it from the horse's mouth, so to say. So a good example where I'm happy to write about the clothes is, say, Mission Impossible. Rogue Nation mentioned that earlier. I know that Oliver Spencer provided some jackets, so got in touch with his people, and they gave me some information on how many duplicates, what they provided for the film, etc. Then I can touch upon other outfits and give my thoughts. But at least there is something in there that is gospel and new, and that's all I have to say about that. So let's have a look at some of the insights here. Where is my traffic coming from? So when I release a post, I share it across all the social channels, and although I have more followers on Instagram, I find it doesn't really leverage a ton of traffic. I think people just don't really want to leave the platform. You know, if you're on Instagram, you don't want to swipe up and then go into a deep dive and read something on your phone. You just kind of want to swipe and look, and it's visual, isn't it? That's what Instagram is. It's a visual channel. That's my personal opinion. And so what are people looking at when they come to the site? Let's have a look. So Layer Cake is all the way up there. People tuned in for that one. The Barber Coat blog, that's Daniel Gaster. Way to go, Danny boy. The jackets are doing well. Finding people are really coming to the site to know more about the jackets right now. In fact, I'm working on a separate project that I might be able to tell you about soon, so stay tuned for that. But, Peter, that's so exciting. Tell me more. Stay tuned for an announcement on jackets. So, jackets are popular. In fact, I'm getting a few emails currently on people that run jacket sites that make jackets, and they're asking for link insertions and stuff like that, which I just ignore. James Bond in New York City, that had no views, and then Sean Connery died, and everyone wanted to know where Sean Connery's place was in New York, so they all made their way to my blog, and I had it in the opening paragraph. I had his address there, which people just came and swiped and left the site, and it completely fucked with my bounce rate. So thanks, Sean. So I moved his address from the top of the article, put it right down at the bottom. So the idea is that people stay on the site for longer, the bounce rate will be better, and Google will think, hey, people are spending longer over here, it has value, so we'll send more people your way. And there you go. And this is what people are clicking through on, Magnolia Clothiers, and that was because I linked to them in a jacket blog that did really well, the Minority Report jacket. Barber there, getting some love. New York Times again, that was in the New York blog. AJB, good forum, happy to link. Thunderbolts, helpful place, happy to link. So people are clicking through Sunspell. Sunspell looks a little bit low, but I did a video reviewing their polos on YouTube, and that's one of my highest rating videos on YouTube. Same with MPL, so I'm okay with those numbers. Are you still there? Oh god, is this fucking of interest to anyone? Who knows? They say the devil makes work of idle hands, right? The shop. Okay, shop. Yes, you can shop. I've put some merch up there. You can buy some original art that Anastasia hates, and the mugs. Just a good way to support the channel. And some of you have been kind enough to do so already, buying some of the merch. So thanking you. The newsletter, I do one newsletter a month and a giveaway on every newsletter to one subscriber. So this month is a monster prize, man. The Voine sunglasses put up by my friend John Nichols. People can subscribe here, and I do a newsletter for the same reason everyone else does newsletters. You know, if I have some actual news, like a book coming out, maybe a link where people can buy the book. It's actually quite handy to have a database of people that I can notify. And yeah, again, so let me round up. Christ, we've all got to get on with our lives. I know these are small numbers compared to a lot of other blogs out there, and some of you might think that I had a bigger audience and more traffic than I actually do, but you know, this like I say all the time, this is just a hobby. Every man needs a hobby. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight on stuff that goes on behind the scenes here. And if you can think of any way that I can improve the site, maybe you're a tech head, maybe you know your way around WordPress and you've spotted a few things that can help improve the site, do get in touch in the comments below. I'll appreciate that. A few thanks should go to Matt Moore for setting up the newsletter, Mark Buckle, Matt Spacer for helping with the blog, contributors, Daniel Gaster, Zed from Tie Another Day, Izuki from Inspired by Bond, Dan from A Very English Institution. You gents have been very good in contributing your articles, so thank you for that. And thank you for listening. Fuck, that was exhausting. That's exhausting for me. Must have been exhausting for you. Jesus.